All right, so welcome to the deep dive, everybody. Today, we're really going to get into it. We're going to dissect Amazon's business model, really try to figure out like what makes this giant company tick.
It's a beast of a company,
Oh
right?
yeah, definitely a beast. And the cool thing is, we've got like a ton of info to work with. We've got
Yeah.
their 10K reports, 10Q reports,
Oh, yeah.
even a recent credit agreement. You know, those
Well,
financial documents companies have to release.
super in-depth stuff.
Super in depth, and
Mm.
honestly, I gotta say, some pretty surprising details in there. Like, did you know Amazon has like a whole program for lending money to sellers,
Oh, wow. I did not know.
or that they changed like their estimate for how long their servers last?
Really?
Yeah, this year. So we're gonna uncover all that and so much more.
I'm excited to dive in.
So first things first, let's talk about the obvious. How does Amazon actually like make money? Everyone knows about, their online store,
Right.
but it can't be just that.
It's definitely more than just the online store, even though that is, of course, a huge part of their revenue. It's really the diversity of their income streams. It's a multifaceted strategy.
So what else is there?
Well, you've got third-party seller services.
Okay.
So all those like businesses, big and small, who are using Amazon's platform,
Okay.
to reach customers, they're paying commissions,
Mhm.
fulfillment fees, all those things that, allow those businesses to exist on Amazon.
So they're kind of competing with other retailers, but they're also like supporting them.
Exactly. It's a really interesting dynamic. And then on top of that, there's advertising, which is, more than just those sponsored products you see.
Oh yeah.
It's a whole system for sellers and vendors to get their products out there in front of customers.
Like a whole marketing thing built right into the platform.
Exactly. It's very clever.
Very smart.
And then, of course, we have the subscriptions,
Yeah.
Prime being the big one, but also, they have all sorts of digital content subscriptions. Right.
Audiobooks, music, ebooks, all that. It's like creating this fan base, this loyal group of members who want access to everything Amazon.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And speaking of like things that might surprise you, one thing that really stood out to me in the financial reports is that physical store sales only include like stuff bought right there in the store.
Really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so if you order online and pick it up, that's counted as online revenue.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's like one of those little details you wouldn't really think about.
Yeah, definitely highlights how important it is to, really understand their accounting practices
Yeah.
if you want to grasp the scale of what they're doing.
It makes you wonder what else is hidden in those reports. But before we go down that rabbit hole, we have to talk about the big one, AWS, Amazon Web Services, their cloud computing arm, right?
Yes.
From what I've seen in the 10Ks, it seems like that's a major, major piece of their revenue. Oh, absolutely. AWS it's a big deal in the tech world and definitely a huge contributor to their success overall. It's a great example of how they've, taken their expertise in tech and infrastructure and turned it into a whole new market. But, building and running an empire like this, it costs money.
Yeah, for sure. Running something this massive can't be cheap. Like, what are some of the biggest things they spend money on?
Well, they've got the major cost categories, just like any other business. So cost of sales, which is basically how much they spend on the goods that they sell.
Okay, so like the actual stuff they sell.
Exactly. And then there's fulfillment. So that's all the warehouses, the shipping, the people who get those millions of products delivered.
Which, speaking of anyone who's ever used Prime, fast shipping isn't free.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That fast shipping is definitely impacting those fulfillment costs. We see it in the 10Qs. And then, of course, there's the technology and infrastructure, which is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
This is where they're pouring money into servers, networking equipment, data centers. It's all the backbone for, not just the online stores, but AWS as well.
Yeah. And that reminds me, I found this detail so interesting. So initially, they estimated that their servers would last like 5 years.
Okay.
But in 2024, they revised it to 4 years.
Huh.
They credit it to like improvements in hardware, software, data center designs. Like they're constantly, squeezing more out of their investment.
It's a testament to their, forward-thinking approach, always looking for ways to innovate and improve. It's not just about keeping up, it's about staying ahead of the curve.
Right. Okay, so we've covered how they make money,
Right.
what it costs them to do it.
Yes.
But what makes people choose Amazon?
Right.
Is it just like the low prices?
Well, price is a factor, of course, but it goes beyond that.
Right.
Their customer value proposition, it's about the selection, right?
Yeah.
They have basically anything you could possibly want. The convenience, it's
Sure.
easy. One-click purchasing. Yeah, fast, reliable shipping, easy returns. It's just a very, very smooth shopping experience.
And you can't forget Prime.
Oh, right. Prime.
It's more than free shipping. It's like access to streaming services, all those exclusive deals. In some places, they even do grocery delivery.
Right.
Right?
It's a whole ecosystem of
It's
benefits.
like they created a whole world where you get, pretty much anything you need with like a couple of clicks.
And it builds loyalty. Customers keep coming back.
Absolutely. And it's not just aimed at like everyday shoppers.
Yeah, not at all.
They've got those different customer segments.
Right, exactly. They've got third-party sellers and then also developers and enterprises using AWS. They're not just playing on one level.
Yeah. So appealing to different groups with like different needs and desires.
Exactly.
But with so many players in retail and tech, how does Amazon stand out? What really sets them apart?
That's a great question, and we'll dive into that right after this.
Well, it's not just about scale, although they definitely have that. It's more about their like relentless focus on innovation.
Yeah.
And like we said before, their obsession with the customer experience. Very few companies can really compete with just how much they offer, right?
Yeah.
Retail, digital content, cloud services. It's a pretty powerful combination.
Yeah. And speaking of competition, I found something in the credit agreement that really shows how Amazon's thinking about staying ahead. It's called the Amazon Seller Lending Facility. Basically, they're offering loans to their third-party sellers, like to help them grow their businesses.
Wow, that's brilliant. It's like they're, investing in their own success.
Yeah.
By supporting those sellers, they're ensuring a strong marketplace, more products, competitive prices,
Yeah.
ultimately a better experience for the customer. Yeah, it's like they're saying, "Hey, we're not just a platform, we're a partner." But, all this success didn't happen overnight. There's a lot of hard work, a lot of strategic execution behind the scenes. So, like, what are some of the key things that keep this whole massive operation running smoothly?
Well, supply chain management is absolutely crucial. I mean, think about it. They're sourcing products from all over the world, managing this huge inventory, and then constantly tweaking that fulfillment network, right? To make sure things are fast and efficient.
And that brings us back to those fast shipping promises.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how they managed to deliver on that, even during like the holiday rush.
It really speaks to the sophistication of their logistics and their fulfillment operations. They've poured tons of money into automation, robotics, data analytics, all to streamline the process. But operational excellence is more than just logistics, right? They also have to stay ahead in technology development, constantly improving those platforms and services, keeping up with the digital world, which is always changing.
Yeah. And remember the thing we talked about with them extending the lifespan of their servers.
Oh, yeah.
That's a perfect example of how they're innovating behind the scenes,
Yeah.
to be more efficient and get more value for their money.
Exactly. And it's not just about saving money. That decision also reflects their growing emphasis on sustainability, which we're seeing more and more of in their reports.
Yeah.
Reducing electronic waste, it fits in with their broader goals for the environment.
Okay. Let's go back to that credit agreement for a second.
Okay.
I know it might not sound like the most exciting thing, but trust me, you can find some interesting stuff in there.
All right, I'm listening. What did you find?
Well, it sheds light on their acquisition strategy, for one. It mentions that future acquisitions, they might need to issue more stock, spend more cash, maybe even take on more debt. It's a reminder that Amazon's growth, part of it comes from, strategically buying other companies.
Yeah, it's a classic growth strategy. And it's one they've used really well in the past, right? Expanding into new markets, getting their hands on some innovative technologies.
Yeah. Like, remember when they bought Whole Foods?
Oh, yeah, that was a big one.
That was a big move in the grocery delivery space.
Definitely.
But of course, acquisitions come with risks too, right?
Absolutely. Trying to integrate different company cultures, their operations, it can be tricky. And there's always the risk of paying too much for a company or running into like unexpected regulatory hurdles. But they seem to be aware of those risks, at least based on what I saw in the agreement. They're being cautious.
Speaking of risks, they also talk about, cybersecurity threats, potential disruptions from like natural disasters, geopolitical stuff, even the impact of climate change on their operations. It's a reminder that even a giant like Amazon isn't invincible.
Right, they're not immune to what's happening in the world. But what's impressive is how they're planning for those challenges. Like in their 10K, they detail all these cybersecurity measures, vulnerability testing, risk assessments. They even have a chief security officer who reports directly to the CEO.
Oh, wow.
It shows how seriously they take it.
Yeah, it is reassuring to know that they're on top of those threats,
Oh,
especially with how much we rely on their services. But let's talk about something a little different. Their financial management. Those 10K and 10Q reports, they give us a pretty cool look at how they manage their cash flow, right?
absolutely. One thing that I found interesting is how their cash balances tend to peak at the end of December.
Makes sense with the holidays.
Yeah, driven by all those holiday sales, and a lot of that is credit card purchases.
Right.
And then, of course, those balances go down in the first quarter as they start paying vendors and sellers.
Yeah, it's like a financial dance,
Mm,
perfectly timed with those seasonal changes.
right. It shows how important working capital management is, making sure they have enough cash on hand to cover those short-term costs, but also investing for the future. They seem to take a fairly conservative approach, focusing on low-risk investments, like AAA rated money market funds, investment-grade marketable securities. It's not about taking big risks, it's about steady, responsible management.
Smart,
Mm,
but it's not always easy, right?
right.
They mentioned some tax controversies they're dealing with in different countries, which could lead to some big tax bills down the road.
Yeah, international tax laws are a nightmare. Navigating all those regulations, it can be a huge headache for global companies like Amazon. It's a reminder that even the most successful businesses still have to deal with these legal and financial challenges.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about customer expectations.
Right.
They're constantly evolving. How do they stay ahead of the curve? How do they keep up with what their customers want?
That's a great question. It takes us to a crucial part of their business model: customer segmentation. Understanding who they're targeting and tailoring their offerings, that's key to their success.
And that's exactly what we'll dive deeper into in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, so let's unpack this whole customer segmentation thing. It kind of sounds like one of those, marketing buzzwords, but I feel like it's got to be way more than that for a company like Amazon.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's really at the heart of everything they do. Basically, they've divided their huge customer base into three main groups.
Okay.
You've got the individual consumers, like us,
Yeah.
everyday online shoppers.
Right.
Then you've got third-party sellers, those businesses using their platform. And then there's developers and enterprises, the ones who are using AWS for all their tech needs. Each of those groups, they have different needs, different desires, and Amazon's like tailored a specific approach for each one.
Okay, so let's start with those individual consumers, the everyday online shoppers.
Right.
What's the magic that keeps them coming back? Well, think about it from your own perspective, right? It's the massive selection.
Yeah.
Like, you can find almost anything you want on Amazon.
Yeah.
And then it's the convenience.
Right.
One-click purchasing, fast delivery, it's going to get there.
Oh, and easy returns.
Exactly. Easy returns. It's so much less of a hassle than dealing with, like, some traditional retailers. They've made the whole shopping experience so smooth.
Yeah, definitely.
And then there's that element of trust we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
You're confident that Amazon's going to stand behind their products and services. And for a lot of people, that trust is really reinforced through Prime.
Right, Prime.
Prime's a big deal.
It's way more than just free shipping.
Right.
It's streaming, it's special deals. It's almost like they've created this world where you can just get whatever you need and it's all like right there.
It's a really smart way to keep customers coming back. All right, now let's think about the second group.
Okay.
The third-party sellers. These are businesses, big and small, using Amazon's platform to reach a huge audience.
It seems like a good deal for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Amazon gets to offer way more products without having to like store and manage all that inventory themselves.
Exactly.
And the sellers, they get access to like a global market.
It's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
But Amazon doesn't just, give them a platform and say good luck. They actually provide a ton of services, things like fulfillment, advertising,
Right.
even lending, like we saw in that credit agreement.
Yeah, that seller lending facility, that was a pretty interesting detail.
That's smart.
Smart way to help their sellers grow. And, when the sellers do well, Amazon does well.
It all comes back around. Okay, now the third group, the developers and enterprises, this is where AWS comes in.
Right, AWS.
Mm.
These guys aren't shopping for, like, everyday stuff.
No, they need serious computing power.
They need the cloud.
They need the cloud. And AWS has become a major player in that space, competing with, the big names like Microsoft and Google. Their success is really about the range of services they offer. You've got your basic computing, storage, but then also, really advanced data analytics, machine learning tools. They work with everyone from tiny startups to huge companies to government agencies.
It's amazing how they've become like the go-to for all things cloud computing.
It is. And what's interesting is they're applying that same customer-focused approach that they use with individual shoppers and sellers.
Right. It's all about building those relationships, the trust, reliability, good service.
Exactly. And it's clearly working for them. So, thinking about all these different segments, what does it all mean for, like, the average person?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, what are the main takeaways here?
Well, I think it's important to recognize just how deeply Amazon is woven into our lives, whether we're shopping, selling, or just using their services. They're gathering data, they're refining their algorithms, they're constantly adjusting what they offer to kind of influence what we do.
It's kind of creepy when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like they have so much power to shape like our decisions.
It's definitely a double-edged sword, but we also have to acknowledge the convenience and the value they provide.
Right.
I mean, they've made a lot of things in our lives easier, more efficient, even more entertaining.
So it's a trade-off. We get convenience, but maybe we give up some control.
Exactly. But I think the important thing is awareness. If we understand how the system works, we can make better decisions
Hmm.
about what we buy, where we sell our stuff, how much we let them, influence what we see online.
That's a good point. I think that sums up what we've been talking about today.
Yeah.
We've seen how Amazon works, how they think, and how they affect us every day.
It's a company that you can't ignore. They're impressive, they're a little scary, and they're definitely going to keep changing the world of business and technology.
Well, thanks for joining us on this journey. We hope you enjoyed exploring the world of Amazon. And until next time, keep diving deep.